Good morning. Good morning and welcome to First Parish in Concord. Happy Mother's Day to all of you. If you are joining us here in the church or online, I want to wish all of the mothers a very, very happy Mother's Day. Glad you could join us this morning. I'm Reverend Howard Dana and I'm the senior minister here, and it's wonderful to be in church with you, whether you're here in person or watching online or watching later on YouTube. Welcome to church this morning. If you're here in person and have any questions about accessibility, just see a staff member or one of the ushers about that. We are still following COVID protocols here, so we're masking while we're in the building, and you're able to distance as you would wish, and then we'll have coffee hour outside, of course. We're also keeping the windows open for a little bit better ventilation. And if you are joining us online, feel free to engage there on the chat. We have a Zoom host, so just make yourselves comfortable online as well. Welcome to church, everyone. Some of our folks are over in Boston for the Mother's Day Walk for Peace. That's where our religious education is happening this morning, and other folks have gone over to be a part of that. So we wish them well and hope that Walk for Peace is a good one. Again, welcome to church this morning. Beth and I are going to do our call to worship in two voices.
Our call to worship this morning is a poem by Mary Oliver, Morning Poem. Every morning, the world is created.
Under the orange sticks of the sun, the heaped ashes of the night turn into leaves again,
and fasten themselves to the high branches, and the ponds appear like black cloth on which are painted islands of summer lilies.
If it is your nature to be happy, you will swim away along the soft trails for hours, your imagination alighting everywhere.
And if your spirit carries within it the thorn that is heavier than lead, if it's all you can do to keep on trudging,
there is still somewhere, deep within you, a beast shouting that the earth is exactly what it wanted.
Each pond with its blazing lilies is a prayer heard and answered lavishly every morning.
Whether or not you have ever dared to be happy, whether or not you have ever dared to pray. Let us worship together.
Every Sunday morning, we gather together and begin our time with a ritual that we share with Unitarian Universalists all over North America, and that is to light the chalice. And so this morning, I invite you to read with me the chalice lighting response, which is in your order of service. O flame of our faith, open our hearts and fill our bodies and souls with persistent strength. Enliven our spirits and engage us deeply in this life of ours, this sacred, essential moment now. Oh, that's me. And now we're going to sing. But first, we're going to stand, and we're going to turn around, and we're going to look at the camera, and we're going to greet our fellow worshipers on Zoom. Good morning, and welcome. And now, I ask you to turn to hymn number 40 in your hymn book, The Morning Hangs a Signal.
Please be seated. So this morning, because it's such a beautiful spring morning and such a Mary Oliver kind of day out there, and because it's Mother's Day, we thought we'd do some poetry. And this is a service I've been wanting to do for quite some time. I first learned about the poetry of Mary Oliver when I was in seminary, and I wasn't someone who was raised with poetry. A little bit. There was a little bit of, sort of the late 19th century rhyming kinds of poetry or long poems that my parents liked, but I hadn't really appreciated poetry myself. And I remember distinctly discovering both Wendell Berry and Mary Oliver in the same year, and talk about an immersive experience. And to be able to just see in the poems of both of them the land and the creatures and the birds and the sea, and to be able to be taken into that world so convincingly and so gently, and to also find there a great sense of spirituality as well. We sometimes joke that the Unitarian Church is the Church of St. Mary Oliver, and it's pretty true. She speaks our language, and she also takes us to places that we also might resist, and I appreciate that about her as well. She is not some glib poet. There is a deep complexity in her work. She is quite aware of the things that are not right with this world, and also so very aware of the beauty all around us. So enjoy this service. It's got some Mary Oliver poems in it. I'll read a little article by somebody else about what her poetry is doing, but settle in for some poems by Mary Oliver. I'll start with one of my favorites, mostly because I love peonies, and the poem Peonies is really beautiful. This morning, the green fists of the peonies are getting ready to break my heart as the sun rises. As the sun strokes them with his old buttery fingers and they open, pools of lace, pink and white, and all day the black ants climb over them, boring their deep and mysterious holes into the curls, craving the sweet sap, taking it away to their dark underground cities. And all day, under the shifty wind, as in a dance to the great wedding, the flowers bend their bright bodies and tip their fragrance to the air and rise, their red stems holding all that dampness and recklessness, gladly and lightly. And there it is again. Beauty, the brave, the exemplary, blazing open. Do you love this world? Do you cherish your humble and silky life? Do you adore the green grass with its terror beneath? Do you also hurry, half-dressed and barefoot, into the garden and softly, and exclaiming of their dearness, fill your arms with the white and pink flowers, with their honeyed heaviness, their lush trembling, their eagerness to be wild and perfect for a moment, before they are nothing forever. Let us turn in the back of the gray hymnal and we'll read together Mary Oliver's poem, Wild Geese. It's number 490 in the back of the hymnal, number 490. I'll read the regular type and you can join with the italicized with Beth. You do not have to be good.
You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert, repenting.
You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves.
Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine.
Meanwhile, the world goes on.
Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers.
Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again.
Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things.
Mary Oliver lived from September 10th, 1935 until January 17th, 2019. In her article in the Christian Century titled An Invitation to Wonder, Deborah Dean Murphy, who teaches at West Virginia Wesleyan College, writes the following. Born in rural Ohio, Mary Oliver lived for many years in Provincetown, Massachusetts, with her partner, the photographer Molly Malone Cook. She chronicled in poetry and prose her time spent in the woods and by the sea, amassing a body of work that has collected numerous accolades, including a National Book Award and a Pulitzer Prize. Oliver's popular success is enviable, unmatched in terms of poetry sales in the American market, and perhaps not unrelated to the dearth of critical studies of her work. Accessibility in poetry seems to disincline scholarly engagement. She goes on to say, Oliver is a mystic of the natural world, not a theologian of the church. She doesn't keep company with poets like R.S. Thomas, Geoffrey Hill, or Denise Levertov. Her theological orientation is not that of Orthodox Christianity. In 2005, Oliver's longtime partner died of cancer. A year later, she published Thirst, a collection of poems that grapples with grief and reveals Oliver's curiosity about and increasing comfort with the language of faith and the rituals and rhythms of liturgical practice. Several of the poems are written as prayers, often with a kind of convert's zeal, but also in the way of the Psalms. Oliver's poems are not religious in the classic sense, but they do have designs on their readers. They are occasions for transfiguring the imagination with a summons for wonder and delight. A theology of wonder cannot ignore nature's destructive side or the catastrophic damage humans have caused and continue to cause ecosystems and whole populations. Oliver does not address these realities directly in her poetry, and some wonder why not. Who better to sound the alarm about impending ecological doom than this widely read poet, naturalist, lover of the world, who has immersed and invested herself in soil, seashore, forest, and wetland her whole life? It is a reasonable question, but one which I think Oliver answers in the way that an artist must. The worst kind of poetry is preachy and argumentative. Oliver invites the reader into wonder, into the harvest of presence, so that in forgetting ourselves for a moment and attending to the trim and feistiness of a single green moth, we might possibly be initiated into a practice, a form of wisdom, a way of life, whereby in time we might come to care passionately, purposefully, and about more of our neighbors, human and non-human, with whom we share this world. Let us now enjoy more music from Mary Jane Rupert. Thanks for being here, Mary Jane. Thank you, Mary Jane. This is Mary Oliver's poem, Spring. Somewhere a black bear has just risen from sleep and is staring down the mountain. All night, in the brisk and shallow restlessness of early spring, I think of her. Her 4 black fists flicking the gravel, her tongue like a red fire touching the grass, the cold water. There is only one question: how to love this world. I think of her rising like a black and leafy ledge to sharpen her claws against the silence of the trees. Whatever else my life is, with its poems and its music and its glass cities, it is also this dazzling darkness coming down the mountain, breathing and tasting. All day I think of her white teeth, her wordlessness, her perfect love. The summer day. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean. The one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous, complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I have been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? With that question that Mary Oliver poses, I invite you into a little conversation amongst yourselves. If you're sitting next to someone, just talk to them. If you're sitting on your own, scoot a little closer to someone else. Spend a couple of minutes talking about this question. What is your plan to do with your one wild and precious life? If you're online, you can respond in the chat and see other folks' answers in the chat. What is your plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Take a couple of minutes and talk to each other. We come to a thoughtful, prayerful time in our service, and in a moment you'll be invited to lift up the names of those who are in your hearts, the folks who are dealing with a great joy or deep sorrow in your life. There are no concerns on the pastoral list, so that's a good thing, but always a reminder that if you would like something announced in church, please just email Liz Weber or me, and we'll make sure that it is lifted up for the whole community. But now, please say the names or type them into the chat of the folks that are on your mind and your heart this morning. And let us join in singing together, Spirit of Life. Let us continue in a spirit of meditation and prayer with this poem by Mary Oliver, When I Am Among the Trees. When I am among the trees, especially the willows and the honey locust, equally the beech, the oaks, and the pines, they give off such hints of gladness. I would almost say that they save me, and daily. I am so distant from the hope of myself, in which I have goodness and discernment, and never hurry through the world, but walk slowly and bow often. Around me the trees stir in their leaves and call out, "Stay a while." The light flows from their branches. And they call again. "It is simple," they say, and you too have come into this world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine. Let us hold a time of silence together. I would like to invite Regina Corrao to come up and light the social action candle. The mission of this congregation engages us to build community, deepen spiritually, and work for justice. At this time in our service, we offer a reflection on the ways in which our actions can shape the world. When we act in ways that support and hold beloved community, we are acting socially for the good of the whole. Sometimes this requires sacrifice, sometimes it requires courage, and always it requires love. Regina?
Good morning. For just a moment today, I want to talk about food. Just food. And La Collaborativa, which is in Chelsea and provides groceries to 6,000 families. Not every year, not every month, but every week. Now, if you think there's 4 people or so per family, that's 24,000 people who depend on La Collaborativa every week for groceries. That's the entire population of Acton. It's more than Concord. So imagine what it would mean to those 24,000 individuals if even 1 week were missed. Well, let's imagine it with Macedonia. She is a mother of 3. She also supports her mother and worked 40 hours a week at a minimum wage job, which allowed her to pay her rent, buy groceries, not a lot more, but she felt lucky. And then the pandemic happened, and her 40 hours a week were cut to 5. And she was at that point desperate for some way to feed her family and turned to La Collaborativa, which used to be known as Chelsea Collaborative and was a lot easier for me. They rose to the occasion and pivoted so miraculously, allowing thousands and thousands of people to have groceries and be fed throughout the pandemic who otherwise would not have been. So food, providing food, it's one of the things that they do. But they do so much more than that. They are a resource in the Latinx community in Chelsea and in the neighboring communities for employment, legal assistance, English lessons, vaccinations, citizenship, mental health support, housing, and so much more. They're a lifeline in Chelsea. I think the people of Chelsea would not survive without them. Please give generously. Thank you.
Thank you, Regina. Today, as each day, when we're in church together, we have the opportunity to be generous. The ushers will soon come through the congregation with plates, or if you're online, you can text to the number that will appear on your screen, or just go to our website and give there. We split our offering every single week, 50-50 with a good organization and with First Parish in Concord. And in the month of May, that is La Collaborativa, is who we're sharing the plate with. So please give generously to both these good organizations, knowing that your dollars will be put to good work. An offering for the good work and witness of these 2 fine organizations will now be gratefully received. Thank you, Mary Jane. It's so nice to hear the harp on a spring morning. Thank you for being with us. As we begin to close our service today, I'd like to point out a few things. It's kind of a busy time in church life at the moment. So the best way to keep up on all things First Parish is to read your First Parish weekly each week. It comes out on Fridays. And if you're not getting it for any reason, just give the front office a call or look in your spam folder. Sometimes it winds up there, even on my own computer. This morning after church, you have a couple of options. You can come outside and enjoy the day and have some coffee and talk to folks. The drill is you just keep your mask on, go down to the kitchen, get your coffee, and come outside and enjoy it there. The worship sharing circle is also going to be meeting outside, so if you'd like a chance to meet, Dana Snyder-Grant is going to be leading that. So just find them. Are you over on this side of the building? Find them for the worship sharing circle. They'll also be online, so you can just follow the link at the end of the service if you're watching from home. There's a welcome table out there as well. Liz Rust is our standing committee representative. Liz, right here, if you have any questions about the church or the good work of our board. And there's also a table out there where you can send cards to folks who've been mentioned in the pastoral milestones. Want to draw your attention to an event that's coming up next Saturday. You'll all want to come. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's the May Fair, and it's on Saturday, May 14th. It's going to be a great event. It's going to be from 3 to 5 in the afternoon, and the weather is looking really good at the moment, so cross your fingers. We do have a rain date, but I don't think we'll need to use it. So next Saturday afternoon, the 14th, come from 3 to 5. I hear that there will be ice cream and games and all sorts of other wonderful things. The next day, a week from today, there will be a rally here on the front steps, and I'll just read what Paul Langston Daly, our social action manager, wrote regarding that. In light of the upcoming Supreme Court decision, the Advocates for Women's Empowerment and the social action community invites you to join us on Sunday, May 15th, after the service for a rally on the lawn. Our Unitarian Universalist Association has affirmed and supported the right to privacy and the right to reproductive choice for all people since the late 1960s. We know that the court has voted to end this right, and soon it will be illegal in many states for people to terminate a pregnancy for any reason. While we are safe here in Massachusetts, we gather next weekend in solidarity with millions across the country to express our grief and anger at this erosion of privacy, autonomy, and choice. We will gather after the 8th principle discussion, and for those who are not attending that discussion, you're welcome to simply join at 11:30. We will have poster board and markers to make signs, and the gathering will take place until 1:00 p.m. They hope that many of you can join them next week for that. Let us sing together again. I invite you to find that gray hymnal near you. We're going to turn to number 326 and stand and sing, Let All the Beauty We Have Known, number 326. Let us rise and sing out.
Let all the beauty
Let us let Mary Oliver have the last word. She says, "At Blackwater Pond, the tossed waters have settled after a night of rain. I dip my cupped hands. I drink a long time. It tastes like stone, leaves, fire. It falls cold into my body, waking the bones. I hear them deep inside me whispering, 'Oh, what is that beautiful thing that just happened?'" Please join in the first parish benediction saying, "Go out into the world in peace, have courage, hold on to what is good, return to no person evil for evil, strengthen the faint-hearted, support the weak, help the suffering, honor all beings." Please be seated for the postlude.